welcome to We Women Want. This is our weekly show where we explore women issues, we celebrate the wins, but we also talk to people who need our support. We pick up issues that every woman would be interested in and would want to be a part of. But today we have a winner with us. We're talking to Priyanka Chaturvedi. She's, as you know, a Rajya Sabha member from the Shiv Sena. She's a deputy leader of the Shiv Sena. She's been a parliamentarian, but before that, she's also a commerce graduate. She's worked in the NGO, she's worked in the corporate sector. So, and most important, I think the reason we're having her, she's a non-dynast, a woman and a non-dynast who's managed to make a mark in today's politics. And we all know how tough that is. So, congratulations on that one.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being too kind.
No, you've done a remarkable job. And I think, how many years have you been in politics?
So, my journey in politics began from 2009. And here I am. So, came from a totally non-political background with no idea of how India works. Of course, knowing as a tax-paying person that how the systems work and having learned in our civics how things are governed. So, yes, it's been a journey from 2019 onwards and a lot of learning since then.
But in those, what is it, 12 years or something, 13 years, you've managed to make a mark. You were earlier with the Congress, a known name there, in a party that was already well established. That wasn't easy. Then you joined the Shiv Sena. Again, you were one of the very vocal faces. And the Sena particularly, you know, it's a party which is usually male dominated. So you managed to make your mark. Before that, I just want to talk to you about why did you join politics? You were working in an NGO, you work for women empowerment, Prayas for children. What made you...
So, when I must tell you, I was not even actively engaged in any NGO per se. I was just amongst many Indians who are doing their job, going about their job, doing their businesses, working for a company and taking care of home and children and wondering and thinking that, you know, someday India would get better, right? And the governance would become more transparent. 2000, when the 26/11 terror attacks happened, kind of changed how I identify and look at myself as an Indian, and I felt I should be contributing more in the building of the societies. What are the problems which are afflicting the society? And one thing that came close to me, close to my heart, was when I was working with the victims of the terror attacks in Mumbai. One thing I realized was our children are getting way too misled into things which may be harmful for the nation in some way or the other. Because working parents and not having access to education at times, giving up on education at times. So I felt it would be nicer if we introduced a concept where we support such children in the slums who do not get, do not have enough money for tuitions, etc., where we can prep them up. We discourage them from leaving schools, and in case they are really bad with their studies, we help them out getting learning, in some kind of skill building.
Other vocation, yeah.
So that is what we started with. It kept growing. And it gave me a sense of purpose and sense of satisfaction. That's when the Youth Congress was also starting with this entire concept of bringing in people from non-political backgrounds into the system. I was very reluctant at first because no political party ever makes space for women, A, women, B, people who are not from the political system, because could be for whatever reasons. They feel it's easier not to train them, not to have a trained cadre. You pick up someone who already understands the rules of the game, etc. But they were trying that. And I thought that was very fascinating, and I started with that. They had an election system. I got elected in the Youth Congress. I was an assembly delegate, which did not have any official powers per se, but I had the power of vote. I could vote for who the Mumbai president would be. So I did that, and it was then when I met Mr. Gurdas Kamath, who was the district member of parliament. No, he ensured, he did not get me in, but he ensured that I would not disconnect. Once I've got into the system, I don't disconnect. Because many of the young
so
people...
that was a very sexist comment of mine, I must say. He got you in as
exactly.
You did not so...
I won't... It's a mindset thing that...
It's a mindset
someone's
thing
pulled you in. Nobody pulled me in. I got pulled into it myself.
Correct.
And I ensured that I sustained that momentum. And he helped me through it. Because he felt that many youngsters who are coming from especially non-political backgrounds, who don't know how systems work, how political parties work, organizations work, electioneering happens, they lose interest if they're not engaged. And they'd rather go back to whatever they were doing. So he felt that it was a necessary, and he kept me engaged in a lot of activities, kept me informed on things that he was doing. And that kept me going and kept me interested. And then things moved forward when the entire Nirbhaya rape case happened. We also saw, and which we completed a decade just yesterday.
Yes.
We also saw how social media played a very important role, and many times it was disinformation as well. Many times it was also to get people, to mobilize people, which was a very interesting phase India was moving into. I was very active on social media. Congress did not have many people who were willing to go on television at that point in time. And that is how things just got together, and I became a part of their media panelist. And whatever journey I've traversed on the basis of having got the opportunities, which I don't deny, but making good those opportunities. And that is my story.
That is the story. But also, through you, I want to explore the role, how easy or difficult it is for a woman in politics. You put yourself out there. Like, for instance, social media. Let's talk about that. Trolling on social media. I know you've been trolled a lot. I think you're on the list of women who've been trolled the most. How do you do it every day, and how do you deal with it?
So, two things. Yes, women who are out there, who are outspoken, who espouse a particular cause, whether it is about women empowerment or justice, etc.
Or even one political line, that sometimes also.
Yes, because politics and globally, any woman who's making a political stance tends to get trolled. And I used to get very trolled and impacted as well. So my family used to get impacted by the kind of vicious trolling I used to receive, the kind of, sometimes it used to cross the line of threats, etc., which I took up strongly. I said, I'm not going to be taking this lightly, whether you'll try to show that I'm playing the victim card or whatever. I'm not being a victim. I'm an empowered woman, and I know what my rights are in this country. And I will take you to the courts. I will drag you to the cops if you do not behave yourselves on social media. So I have done that. Many times I felt that it's just not worth it. Why should I put myself up and get abused on a daily basis, left, right, and center? Is it even worth it? But then I thought to myself, today they silence me. Tomorrow they may silence 10 other women. Day after they may silence 300 women. The story never ends. Someone has to break that cycle. So yes, come on, you can continue to troll me. I'll continue to maybe give you more reasons to troll me, but I will not keep quiet, because every time a woman shuts up, probably 10 other women lose their confidence to speak up. So that I felt was something which I tried to do.
And what is your advice? Do you tell, should one engage with trolls? Should one just ignore them? But sometimes, they say such things that you can't just ignore,
Yes, sometimes when I see that this is not worth ignoring, even if the person has 400 followers, I've been told multiple times that, don't engage with anyone who has less than 5,000 followers. I'm like, no. If someone's like being really vicious, I take them on. But most times now, I choose to mute those voices because they're not worth wasting your time on. And I must say, I read most of the comments that come my way, and but I ignore them. Sometimes you have an answer to this. They're lying, but you don't want to engage because there's so much more you need to do. And that is what I've started to do, not engage.
That's a good lesson, I think, for everybody.
Yes.
Then on to the Shiv Sena. Again, as I said, Congress may fir bhi they've been women leaders. We've had women presidents, prime ministers from the Congress. But the Shiv Sena is very male-dominated. So
no, that actually is a very Delhi-centric view of looking at Shiv Sena. Absolutely, absolutely. And this is what I keep telling people here in Delhi, that you look at our composition of our local body in Mumbai, and you would see that most of our winning candidates, above 50% of our winning candidates, were women. Now you look at our, you look at our entire composition. I don't know how many women people know in the besides Maharashtra, how important a role women of the Shiv Sena play in the lives of people in Maharashtra and even in the political system, right from helping resolving their marital disputes to resolving challenges that women face, any harassment or violence women face, taking them to the police station. Our shakhas are very important, and women know that there is someone who will go to, look after them if they approach the shakha, whether it is a male representative of the Shiv Sena or a woman representative of the Shiv Sena. You look at the mayors we've appointed. You look at the our vice chairman in the assembly. So you would see that most of the appointments are very consciously women parliament because we have been very clear that women need to be represented. But the other challenge as a political organization that we face is our women in the Sena usually post, winning a local corporation elections, they are not looking forward to build on their momentum, to look at legislative assembly or to look at as, contributing as a member of parliament. So we, through our various, platforms that we've created, and I would credit Uddhav Sahab and Aditya ji for this, whether it is the Pratham T initiative, whether it is the Yuvti Sena initiative, we are encouraging more women to aspire beyond local body elections. So that is a work in progress. I totally beg to differ about it being male dominated. In fact, I'd like to tell you that when Aditya ji was taking oath, he invoked his mother's name as much as he invoked his dad's name when he was taking the oath. Where he says they've been equal partners and they've been equal parents to me. Why should I quote, name one and not name the other? So that's been his, way of functioning. And I think that is extremely empowering simply because it acknowledges the role of a mother in bringing up a child.
Correct. No, but, having said that, even then, the women still, either you're someone's daughter, which is why I said non-dynast is a big one. It's an achievement because you're either someone's, mother, daughter, sister, or then there is some character assassination, who's promoting you, like I said, pulled you in, those kind of innuendos keep. How do you deal with those? I mean,
I've had so many things spoken about me. So many stories cooked up about me, especially when I entered the Rajya Sabha, the kind of things I read on social media, the kind of things, and I also see many women getting wishes to another woman. Against, So I think every woman's growth journey should be celebrated by another woman. It did not happen that way. There were many vicious lies being spread about me, character assassination happening at every point in time. Of course, I did get support, but the point is that it impacts you. It impacts you. Yes, for a non-dynast, it becomes all the more difficult simply because you're not used to such kind of public scrutiny. A dynast would probably know that, they've seen some member of their family facing something like this, and how do you handle it better? They also have systems in place, like they would know who the district collector is, who the magistrate is, who the people in the high court is, how the system really works. For me, it was totally a learning experience. Like someone had said, and I'd quote the Bollywood actor, where he said, "Jahan se inke sangharsh khatam hota hai, hamara shuru hota hai." So, that applies even to political people. I do not for 1 minute grudge them that access. I do not for 1 minute say, no, we should not encourage. How can you stop someone who has the creditworthiness, etc., and personality to become a leader? Just because he happens to be a dynast or she happens to be a dynast should be denied to them. They need equal access. But I also feel that for non-dynasts it becomes a little difficult. But it is a journey that they should commit themselves to and take it forward. And every dynast, I must say also, is up for approval every 5 years. When they contest election, they may have a slightly more bigger advantage in getting the ticket and getting to win. But then they have to continue being competent enough to keep winning that election or the constituency. So that is something that they work hard on. And they work, probably their pressure could be at times double because they happen to be someone's.
And sometimes it's a baggage, it's not always
it's a baggage. Yes, it's a baggage. We don't have that. So that is one, I see it as something as an advantage where we say, I tried, but I failed, perhaps, or I tried, but I could not be better enough. But they have a comparison to look up to all the time. But your father used to do this. But your mother was accessible. Correct. You are not accessible. So, those are things that they face.
That's true. But the logistical issues of, a woman on the campaign trail, for instance, working late hours, there will all be some, for as a journalist woman also, किसी ने scoop दिया, अब तो mobile phones आ गए, but earlier you had to actually go to the person's house, whether if you're sitting and having a drink, then of course there's a whole lot of, फिर और problem आ जाता है. So, आज भी वो logistical problems है, where a woman is constrained more than a male counterpart.
Yes, absolutely. And that is, I think, something which also makes us uncomfortable, that women hold themselves up for scrutiny on a much higher level than men anyway do. For example, if a woman is offered a role, she would think 10 times, how will I spend my family time? How will it help me? Will my family be able to adjust to these timings, etc., etc. While a male will just be up for it. Yes, I'm doing this, I can do this, without even actually thinking that Does he have the talent? Does he have the resource? Does he have the capacity, capability? So women hesitate a lot more in taking these decisions. And then they face these issues. Like washrooms, for instance. I remember in the Congress Party office headquarters at 24 Akbar Road, it was a struggle for me as a woman to find a decent toilet to use. And that is a struggle. When you're on a campaign trail,
It's a...
all right, it's easy for men to stay wherever. May not be really easy, not be comfortable. But for a woman, she really needs to look at all logistical issues. And when you're in the rural areas, it does get difficult. So you are heading to the next big town. Every night after campaigning, you're heading towards the closest big town where you know you'd be safe.
At least, yeah.
So and then of course the late night meets that happen. Oh, why don't you come over? Let's chat, let's gossip, etc. That is something we consciously avoid because then that would lead to certain more reasons to assassinate your character.
Yeah. And these are the opportunities where a lot of networking happens. The off the record or the,
yes.
casual
So,
conversation.
but now I see a silver lining in this where I see a lot of men understand, those who are in these elected positions do understand that such challenges do arise. So they keep all these things in mind when they're planning, let's say, a campaign trail, a campaign route for us.
Okay.
So those are things which I think are gradually changing, and as the parliament gets younger, hopefully it will get younger, some more younger, and we will be more sensitive to the idea of having women as equal partners.
Okay, I'm going to take a break and come back and talk about legislation. What can be done in terms of for women empowerment, the famous women reservation bill and other stuff, but after a quick break.
क्रेडिट स्कोर लो है और क्रेडिट कार्ड चाहिए? कोई नहीं, समझो मिल गया। पैसा बाजार स्टेप अप कार्ड एक ऐसा यूनिक क्रेडिट कार्ड है जो हो सकता है सबके पास। बनवानी है तो बस एक एफडी, पाएं एफडी पर बेस्ट रिटर्न्स और अपनी क्रेडिट लिमिट खुद डिफाइन करने का मौका। पैसा बाजार स्टेप अप कार्ड होगा सबके पास।
Hello and welcome back to a We Women Want conversation with Priyanka Chaturvedi. We've been talking about women in politics, how the logistical part of it, but now the legislative part of it, because, people are becoming aware, and I think men are also being, guilt-shamed into at least
admitting, acknowledging.
Lip service, to, like for instance, the Nirbhaya case, the women reservation case. Do we need to do more, or do you think we're progressing?
No, we are progressing, but we need to progress much faster. If we are looking at being global leaders, which the Prime Minister keeps talking about, and as an Indian, I think we should be appreciating the fact that everybody is focusing on various issues that concern a nation economically. What we're looking at it is economically, and globally, how do we engage with the world? So when you are looking at engaging with the world, you engage through the challenge that we face in terms of women empowerment. Women empowerment and gender justice forms one of the very important parts of your SDG goals. And if your legislation does not consider women as participants, if your legislation comes from male-dominated perspective, if your legislations are, not understanding the gravity of a gender justice issue, is a problem. And that is why we need more women in positions of power to be able to sensitize policy makers and policy spaces to do this. Every speech that I make in the parliament, I continue to remind that we owe this to the women of this country. And none of our SDG goals are complete, none of our economic goals are complete, none of our global world leader goals are complete till we do not address this particular issue. Whether it is cyber attacks, whether it is sexual harassment, whether it is cyber harassment, social media harassment, all of those, if we do not have strong legislations and ability to be able to convert them into action on ground, we are going to see a whole lot of women voices being denied on power tables. So that has always been my focus. As much as many people will tell me that, you are just you using the woman card. I say
that's another word one.
Yeah, that's it all the time. Oh, you're playing the woman card. Why should I not play the woman card? If I have got the voice, if I've got the position, why should I not speak for the 50% of India's gender, India's population? So I will do that. Women face harassment. I remember the Sullibai bully deals. And when I approached our IT minister in July, of course he was sensitive to the fact, but did not really do much about it. Neither did he care to respond to my letter. And when the entire issue blew up in January, I thought enough was enough, and we need to, and that is when I activated the Mumbai police, and I said, women across board are being impacted by it, and you should take action. And that is when you saw action happen. So if I would deny that voice to the women of this country, I would be doing a huge injustice to my role also. So I think that is what is important. So when you talk about women's reservation, it is a long pending legislation. If you look at countries across the world who have brought in reservation are doing well in terms of representation. So let's say you have your own reasons for not doing the women reservation. Practice in your political parties. Bring 50% women into your electoral politics.
Yeah.
Winnability aside, you're creating a whole generation of young leaders, women who are aspiring to be in the parliament, women who are aspiring to be in the assemblies. Do that.
Yeah,
that is what I think.
But there are also a lot of women who say that, reservations actually is very patronizing.
No, I don't think it's patronizing. Okay, so I'll go to that example of when our constitution was being framed. We had women members also in the Constituent Assembly who were talking about various other issues. The question came about reservation. And that is when all of them, including the women in that assembly, when they were discussing the constitution, said that when we are empowering women, equal right to vote, US did not get that immediately, US women had to struggle for it, many women in Europe had to struggle for it, India did not need to. India felt that as a progressive nation, which is coming out with one of the most progressive, inclusive constitution, this should come naturally. They believed it would happen naturally. It did not. Barriers were created for women to enter into the political system. So it cannot be a patronizing thing to do simply because that what should have been addressed through the constitution hasn't been adhered to, hasn't been addressed.
The field has to first be leveled in a
So you need to bring in some kind of balance to your power table. And if you don't do that, and if it's not coming through our constitutional methods, which were progressive, it's not coming through your political parties, then it will have to come through legislation.
Yeah.
The amendments that were made for the local body elections. Many people say that, it's usually the men, when the seats are reserved, they put up their women. Their wives or their sisters or family members to keep hold of the seat. But in the end, you have put the woman has managed to put her foot in the door. Whether she takes 3 years to do justice to her role or whether it takes her 5 years. But she is in that.
She is there.
She is there. She is being heard. Whether the voice is that of her husband for some years, but she will find a voice of her own. And that is what you have empowered in the local bodies. But that hasn't percolated to assemblies and parliament, and that either comes through legislation or very conscious effort by political parties to be able to ensure that they're doing gender justice by equal representation.
And, in this show, we've had, we speak to people from various fields. So, we've had women CEOs. And one interesting point that somebody made, that actually women are better because women know how to multitask better than men. So, I want to ask you about your work-life balance. How do you,
I
have a young son?
I totally agree with most women who say that, I remember Indra Nooyi saying, no, women can't have it all. Simply because women continue to feel a sense of responsibility to various roles that they play. So, I may be a very empowered woman. I know my rights, but I also know my responsibility. So, yes, at times it does get difficult to maintain that work-life balance, but I make a very conscious effort. To spend enough time with my children, to spend enough time with my family responsibilities, and also manage my work-related responsibility. For example, when in the last winter session, I was suspended. For an entire session. And I said, I owe this country a responsibility. I take time out because when the parliament is in session, I take my role seriously. I've come to legislate. I've not come here to just, be suspended like this. And again, I fought about it, how it was done, how it was carried out. And I was in the parliament every day, even if I was outside.
To protest,
I was putting my 0 hour, my concerns with regards to whatever I had prepared that needs to be spoken. So if there was a political discussion, if there was a legislation discussion inside the parliament, I was writing a letter to the minister with my point of view on that particular legislation, because if my voice is denied inside, I'll continue to not let my voice be silent.
So women will find a way.
We will find a way. We will find a way to balance. We will take on responsibility where we know we will give in 100%. We will not jump into something without thinking it through. So I think that way women are, and when they think through a very inclusive lens, where they've addressed the gender, they've addressed children, they've addressed various other challenges that a nation may face.
And also what I find very interesting, because I follow you on social media, is you are very happy to put up pictures of your family or you're doing things. So this, you get the complete picture of the person. It's not just your parliamentary work, but you also, include us into the other side of you. Which is, you get a whole balanced person.
Yes, I know. I do know. If you look at me off the social media, I'm a very private person. Whenever I get some free time, I try to spend it with my family. I spend it with my family, and I'm most comfortable there. However, I feel every political figure has a personal life, and denying them the ability to be able to share without facing abuse, trolling, etc. is a right that they have too. So if they spend some part of their lives, even when they are in, a legislative role, they can take time out. Let's normalize family time. Let's normalize politicians having a life beyond their work. Corporates have it. Other sectors have it. Other sectors talk happily about their children, etc., etc. But political families are not allowed that space. And every time they say, hello, they are on a holiday with the family, see, you are taking time out and you're not doing enough for your country. I think I'm doing enough for my country. And I know I can do a lot more. But however, I also take some time out with my family. I'm also fulfilling a massive responsibility that I have as a human. And that should be appreciated, that should be respected. So I have been a person, someone who is what you see, what you get. Whether politics or off it, this is who I am. And people get a glimpse of that through my social media posts.
And I find more women are ready to share than men. I mean, not really generalizing, but by and large, I've seen posts from, such posts are more, the women are happy to put and share. The men don't really.
I think because India also, to be fair to the men of this country, they do also have a very toxic work life, in the sense that if they show a softer side to themselves, then they're looked at as someone who, will not be able to do justice to the role. So that is a burden, I would say, to be fair to the men, that they also bear in their, public life spaces. So they of course, to change that trend, to buck that trend, I'm sure they will also have to work hard on it.
On a final note, I noticed your name when you write, it's Priyanka Vikram Chaturvedi. Now, that's your husband's name. Does that raise a lot of feminist eyebrows?
No, actually, I must say, it was always Priyanka Chaturvedi. Always.
Achha.
It was just that when I entered the Rajya Sabha, they addressed me as Priyanka Vikram Chaturvedi. But it's absolutely okay. My husband has been an equal partner in my struggle. He has seen my struggle, the ups and the lows, the highs and the lows of the entire system. When I changed my party I moved from the Congress to the Shiv Sena, I can't even tell you the kind of vicious trolling I faced from people. And he stood with me through thick and thin. And I think putting his name and people addressing me as Priyanka Vikram Chaturvedi, I'm only not just acknowledging his role in my life, but I'm also saying that it is a gender equal world. That is what we have to strive towards. So there's no harm in acknowledging the male member of your family, because he's been part of that journey. He has filled up for me in my children's annual days, in my children's PTMs, in my children's growing up years. I went into politics when my daughter was just 2 years old.
Wow.
And many times I was not available for her mentally or there physically with her. He filled in those dual roles as a father and a mother. So I do appreciate his contribution to my journey, which was so uncertain, considering I'm, again, like I continue to repeat, a non-political person. And I appreciate his understanding of it too. So I'm okay with that.
That's a very good, positive, confident note to end on. It really works both ways, the whole gender equation. But thank you, Priyanka, for this conversation, and pleasure having you on We Women Want. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.